Good evening, everyone. This is Jamarcus Jackson, working on my capstone presentation. We're talking about literacy in the African American community for the younger generation, such as kids from between K to 12. So I have here Cheyenne Wallace, who is a dental student at Hawthorne Elementary School.
It's a middle school,
high school. It's in the heart of the city. It's in St. Louis City, on Kings Highway.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So she deals with the younger generation, and it's a majority of African Americans in the school. So I'm going to ask her a few questions during our little podcast talk to see, just to kind of pick her brains and see some of the things that she deals with in the inner city. So what are your, just off the top of your head, Cheyenne, what are some of the thoughts that you have with kids coming in and not having the ability to read, such as their counterparts, such as Caucasian students or any other race?
Well, I've had the experience of working with all different types of cultures. I've worked in a predominantly white environment. I'm now in a predominantly African American environment, but we have some Caucasian students and Indian students. And I think it's the lack of resources that really, sets our kids up, also sets up other, school districts and environments. And I think working in the city is just the lack of resources. We don't have the resources to really address the gap between our students not knowing how to read and being able to be successful in life.
Okay, so when you say set up, are you speaking as far as, what the teachers can offer them or what they can be offered at home? Can you elaborate?
I think it starts with at home, but I think because we don't have the resources at home, as far as finances for families, when my kids come to school, they're not worried about what the reading assignment is. They're worried about, can I get breakfast and lunch? Can I get a double lunch? Because I got to go home. I ain't got no food.
Wow.
Versus, working in the predominantly white environment that I did, kids ate. That's just the thing. They had food, they had clothes, they had money, and so it's just a different type of vibe working in St. Louis City.
So what you're saying is these kids coming into the schools, their focus is not on reading or literacy. It's focused on survival.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's definitely focused on survival. I mean, you can tell. I mean, just talking to my kids, it's always, can you bring me some chips over the weekend? Can you come take me to lunch? Versus, I don't have a computer right now. Can you bring me a laptop so I can do this work? A lot of my kids are below and are not passing, but it's not because they can't. It's just because they're not worried about it. And the talk at home isn't make sure you do your homework, make sure you do your chores. It's I got to go to work tonight, so you got to watch your little sister or your little brother.
Wow.
And that's just what I'm experiencing.
So from working in the quote unquote predominantly Caucasian school, what's the difference that you see as far as the students, in the sense of, do you see the Caucasian kids being more prepared and ready to work than the African American kids? Or do you, or what do you see? I don't know.
I'm not going to say they're more prepared. I think the steps that we're taking are definitely different.
Okay.
But that's because they didn't have to take those steps that, the African American kids had to take. I think about when I was younger, my mama, we're black, and my mama made sure we did homework every day. She made sure we went to school. We could not miss school at all, no matter if you was sick, nothing.
Right.
But nowadays, it's not what the kids are experiencing. They're literally, parents, they got to be their parent, the parent over their siblings, or, and I just think that the other types of cultures, because they have too many resources, they don't really know how to use all of their resources.
Yeah.
And so it's just different for both.
Right.
I just think we just have to take the same steps.
Gotcha. What do you per se, if you were in charge of a school right now, you had your own school, what difference would you make in the African American community?
Well, I think the first thing, and it's something that I try to do now, is I'm a person that I'm a visual learner, and so my goal right now while I'm working in the city school is to bring some of those resources from like the county and when I say resources, I'm SPED heavy, so special education. I have a degree in there, and so a lot of like the therapies, you know, in other cultures, therapists are brought to school. Some of them are on payroll; they stay in the school versus in the city. We happen to call people in. You know, we got to get a speech therapist in. We got to get an OT therapist in. And one of the things that I'm pushing to do is I want us to have our therapists on payroll. They're 24/7 while our school is open, for parents to be able to use them at their right at their hands. You know, whenever you need them. And so I think definitely the first thing would be able to provide more resources so our families can be more secure. Because I think if they feel secure, then we could start worrying about the academic piece. Because when we're following in all other areas, it really don't matter it matters if you can read, but not to our families. Yeah. Our families just need to survive, you know? Their mindset is, we got the survival thing, and so...
reading is not a priority in the African-American community.
I mean...
Survival is. Yeah. So it's about survival. So I understand, because myself, I grew up in the inner city. I don't even know if you call it inner city. It's a small town called Washington Park, Illinois, where it was about survival. If you chose to decide to, you know, figure out how to read, or you know, do your math, or just do your work in general, you know, you then kind of veer it off. Yeah, that's the minority. You know, that was the minority is going that way. But in 2020, we're in 2020 now. What do you think? What do you think a solution would be, other than resources?
I think all of us coming together. I think there's so many of us that know different types of techniques, different type of, you know, resources, you know, whether you're a counselor, a doctor, a lawyer. I think all of us coming together and kind of directing. I think one thing that we've lost is our families don't know which way to go. Yeah. And so they're kind of maneuvering by themselves and just thinking like this is the direction that we should go. Wow. I think if we come together and try to, you know, set it up where, you know, this is where we should be. You know, you got a kindergartner, this is what they should be working on, this is what they should be doing, you know, and then you got this, you know, I don't know, 8th grader, this is where they should be. I think if we come together and work with that, that's one way. But then also not just passing our kids along. One thing I've experienced working in a high school is, you know, I have 11th graders who read on a 2nd grade level. Wow. How did they miss so many grade levels? And, you know, and now you're in 11th grade. There's no way to bridge that gap because they're so, you know, they're so far behind.
Wow. So I read a stat that's like 3 out of 5 kids go home and they're read to by a family member. I wish that was a 5 out of 5. You know, kids are read to, which is it's not a staggering number, but there's a gap of kids who go home and read or they're being read to, and I think that contributes to the lack of literacy. Yeah. So, thank you. So hey, I want to thank you for your time. This is Cheyenne Wallace here. So if you guys are looking for a tutor or a dean of students, we'll find a way to get a hold of her. Thank you guys much.